This video was made, created by me ZS0020 Prime, leader of the Defenders and master of the Skybase. I am also known as ZS Prime, ZS0020 Prime, and Sylveon Prime, and nobody has any permission to use this video without my permission or authorization. This music was made, created by me ZS0020 Prime, leader of the Defenders and master of the Skybase. I am also known as ZS Prime, ZS0020 Prime, and Sylveon Prime. And nobody has any permission to use this music without my permission or authorization.
Good early morning, I should say. Yeah, it's almost 3 a.m. over here. This is basically gonna be kind of my opinion over some recent arguments that I've seen people making in regards to the release of Pokémon Fire Red and Leaf Green on the Nintendo Switch/Switch 2. You can purchase that on both consoles. Personally, yes, I did bought it. It's $20 each. I can understand how some people can make the argument, yeah, the games haven't been, modernized. But when I was looking through the Direct when they were talking about it, and the way they describe it is, that was kind of the intention of Nintendo. They wanted to release those old games exactly as they were to give the modern audience an opportunity to play these games without having to literally spend thousands upon hundreds of dollars for the actual cartridges. I've seen the eBay prices of those cartridges, and it's insane. $20 on the eShop, or $100 to $200 to almost $1,000 on eBay. Which choice do you think somebody who doesn't have a lot of funds is going to choose? Personally, I chose the $20 option because I'd rather pay $20, well, $40 if you want both games, but I'd rather pay $40 than $100, $200, $300, $400 trying to find it on eBay. Because that's the thing. Because yes, I do have my old Game Boy. Actually, I have the Game Boy player itself on my. Let me see here. Let me down over there. Yeah. You can see that GameCube box. There is an actual GameCube in that box. So yeah, I do have a GameCube. I could play it originally, but the problem is it's god awful expensive if you want to go original hardware with original thing. I mean, not everybody has the funds or the means to do it that way. And yes, you can go the whole emulation route, but the thing is, one, you have to have equipment. You have to have a PC or something that can run the emulator, and it has to be able to run it. Even Game Boy games can run terribly if you don't have the proper equipment. Number two, trying to find an emulator is a pain in the butt because for every good one, there's 1,001 bad ones, and also, we all know how Nintendo feels about emulators, so with them going after emulators left and right, it's kind of difficult to find one that actually properly works unless you literally spend hours searching for one. And then also, in addition to that, you also have to find the ROM of the game, yourself. And that has a risk there because first of all, you have to make sure it's an actual ROM and not some sort of weird nastiness, because trust me, if you just type up Pokemon Fire Red or Leaf Green ROM out there, chances is you're probably going to end up downloading something with a virus if you're not careful enough. Going the whole emulation round, I can see why people argue that I can do that for free, but the thing is, not everybody has the necessary skills to even do the whole emulation thing, because you gotta know what you're doing when you're running an emulator, because otherwise you could install something that you wish you hadn't on your computer. And also, And also, in addition to that, Nintendo has been shutting down ROM sites left and right. So, trying to find ROMs these days, even if you're looking, even if it's not Pokemon Fire or Red or Leaf Green, even if it's some sort of other just random game out there, like a game that used to be out back in a day but is no longer available, and you can't download it anywhere or play it anywhere. Trying to find these particular games is not that easy either, with Nintendo shutting down ROM sites left and right. So, to tell you the truth, me personally, I'm the type of person that the less effort I have to spend when it comes to certain things, the better, because life is too short to waste away sitting hours on the computer and trying to find something that may or may not work. The other part about it is, for Pete's sake, people, it's $20. I understand people are arguing the game doesn't have Fire Red and Leaf Green doesn't have online, it doesn't have trading. Eventually, it's supposed to have Pokemon Home compatibility, which is what Nintendo said. But take that as what Nintendo said, because they've been known to lie, and the Pokemon Company has been known to lie when it comes to certain things. But at the end of the day, it's not about being rich. It's not about being poor. It's fucking $20, people. $40 if you want the full game. If I were to, if you and yes, unfortunately there is no physical release of it, but at least it's something. At least it's something you can pop on your Switch or Switch 2 and enjoy it. And heck, if some of you have like kids who may be into Pokemon, you can actually show them that, hey, this is what we used to play back in the day. This is what we used to play back in the day. You can kind of try to get the modern audience to try to see how it was back in the day when Pokemon first came out. Because shoot, I was born when I was born, there was no such thing as Pokemon when I was born. Yes, I happen to be one of those people who I happen to be older than Pokemon. I'm not gonna say specifically. I was born. I'll say this. I was born in the '90s. That's all. That's as far as I'm going to say on YouTube. And back in my day, we didn't have any. Excuse me, I had to sneeze. Bloody hell. Back in my day, we didn't have any Pokemon or anything. So, and back at the time when these games did came out, I was pretty much a young child, so I was too young to afford anything. And unfortunately, due to certain personal things that were going on in my life, I had to basically wait until X and Y, which was my very first game. I happened to play the Y version because for some reason I always play the red version first before I play the other version. But those were my two first games, and yes, I did purchase the classic games when they came out back on the 3DS back then, but nowadays with the 3DS shop gone, if you haven't purchased those games on your 3DS, unless you have a modded 3DS, you can't really get those games back. And modding consoles isn't as easy as some people may think. Yes, you can follow guides, but there's 1,001 ways to screw things up and end up with a freaking brick, and I don't want to have to go through any of that mess because because I don't want to. And also, let me turn this camera. If you can see it, my 3DS is an OG 3DS, so I don't that. Let's just say I've had problems with that thing, sometimes forgetting the SD card exists. So I really don't want to screw it up by trying to mod that. No thing. Because as the first rule of technology, if you don't know what you're doing, don't mess with it. That's like the first rule of technology. If you anything electronical, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, don't mess with it. Don't click on it. Don't don't try to take it apart, because you may end up causing yourself more of a headache, than what it's worth. But I can see that people may have a problem. Yeah, that the game doesn't have modern features, but Nintendo never said that Fire Red and Leaf Green was going to have modern features. They straight up said that they wanted to release the game in its original form as it came out back in the day when it came out 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, we didn't have online trading. There was no freaking online at all in the Pokemon games. I mean, I haven't played them personally back then, but I've seen other people play them, and I've watched YouTubers who played them and who basically discuss, how it was back then with these games. And I've played other games, other old school games as well, and shoot, I played the original NES Metroid, and that had no online. Back then, consoles were offline. There was no such thing as online gaming back then, unless you had a PC or something, or some sort of other console. But back then in the 90s, there was no online thing. So, what the Pokemon Company did, they just wanted to release the game exactly how it was to try to show the modern audience that this is where Pokemon came from. This is how the game originated. And it being $20, ladies and gentlemen, it could have been far worse. Heck, if Nintendo wanted to, they could have easily charged freaking $50 or more. But Nintendo didn't. But the Pokemon Company, Nintendo didn't do that. They only charged $20. Freaking dollars. It just baffles me how people. I understand people may have proper constructive criticism, but it's the people who literally are losing their shit over it being $20 each for both Fire Red and Leaf Green. That's the part that I can't comprehend. It's like, it's one thing if you have, standard criticism. Okay, that's understandable. Not everybody's going to like everything that happens. And also, I'm no Nintendo defender myself because Nintendo has done some questionable things, but the price, it could have been much worse than $20 for both games. It could have been far worse than what it was, and people are most of the people out there are just completely blowing it out of proportion. They're turning something like this into something like this. There's a phrase. What's the phrase? They're making a mountain out of a molehill. Basically, that's the phrase I was looking for. People out there are making a mountain out of a molehill. I mean, yes, okay, I understand people criticism. It doesn't have online play, etc., etc. But still, it's just fucking $20, people. I understand, and if you don't want to spend that money, then don't buy the game. It's just that simple. You don't want to spend the money, don't buy it. But literally posting a bitch fit over a game that's just $20 when Nintendo could have done a whole lot worse. Heck, they could have put in this whole thing on the NSO. And they could have put this. They made this game a standalone game. They didn't even put it on the NSO, which they could have which they could have easily put it on NSO, or they could have done some sort of other worse thing. They could have done done like far worse than what they did, and trust me, I'm no fan of Nintendo pricing because $70 for certain games or $80 for certain games is ridiculous. But I digress. $20 for Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green is not as bad as some people are making it out. Some people are blowing the whole situation out of proportion and making a mountain out of a molehill, and that is just ridiculous. I and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that people who are complaining don't have their proper legitimate criticisms. Yes, there are some legitimate criticisms. It doesn't have online, but the fact of the matter is, people kind of need to learn how to read online. Number one, because they straight up said that their intention was to release the game as it was. Basically, to release the game as it was, which means no online features. Because back 30 years ago, when they did the game's release, there was no online. The concept of online gaming wasn't even there yet. I believe the internet was just barely, starting up at that point. And to tell the truth, it's not as bad. At least it's something. At least it's something tangible. I mean, they could have easily charged through the nose, but they only decided to charge $20 for each, for 40 if you want to buy both. And yes, I understand for some people it's a difficult pill to swallow because not everybody can afford it. But if you don't like the price point of the game and you don't like what you see, then move on. If you want to have a proper criticism, okay, fine, have a proper criticism, have a civilized conversation. It's the uncivilized conversations that makes no sense to me. It's like, why are people literally going at each other's throats over a 30-year-old video game that's $20 that's $20 each? It just makes no sense, because to tell the truth, it could have been a whole lot worse. It could have been a whole lot worse. They could have easily charged up the yin yang and made it $30 per game, or worse. I mean, yes, it is kind of a bummer that it's $20 each, but at the end of the day, it's $20 each, which is a whole lot less than if you try to find yourself a physical cartridge. Because if you try to find yourself a physical cartridge of Fire Red or Leaf Green, good bloody luck, because all eBay prices are up. All the eBay prices, they're charging up the yin yang. Well, half because of scalpers, and other half because it's a classic retro game. So those collecting retro games is a very expensive hobby. Just ask any retro game collector out there, and they'll tell you that it's an expensive hobby. And in my personal opinion, if I just want to play a game and I want to do it the easy way without having to, do anything, without having to emulate it, and not just easy, and I want to do it legally as well, because I don't want Nintendo ninjas at my door, and I don't want problems. I rather go the legal route. And I understand preserving your games, that's one thing, but all I'm gonna say is, ladies and gentlemen, don't do anything stupid, because getting yourself in trouble over over this whole situation is not worth it. But at the same time, for me, yes, I've emulated stuff in the past, but I do it within the privacy of my own home, and I don't mess with it, and I only do it for video game preservation. Like, I do have copies of those games that I've emulated. I just do it for video game preservation, so that way, if 30 or 40 years down the road, when the cartridge itself dies, because yes, even the 3DS cartridges can die. They've been known to have a memory, I think something to do with the memory chip. And the old school cartridges, heck, once that battery goes, there goes your freaking save file. And to replace that battery, you literally have to take the thing apart, and you have to do soldering and stuff. And trust me, it's more trouble than it's worth. And so basically, in my particular situation, I had this choice: either pay thousands or hundreds upon hundreds of dollars for the actual physical cartridges, or pay $20. I'd rather just pay fucking $20 and be done with it, to tell you the truth. Because, as the old phrase goes, simple is sometimes best. And I understand some people don't want to pay the $20, and if you don't want to pay the $20, then don't buy the game. But of course, everybody has their opinions, and if you have valid criticism, that's okay. But when the conversation starts devolving into uncivilized chaos, that's the part that I don't understand, is why people can't talk to each other like fucking normal human beings. And as I said, my comment section is open. If people want to discuss this in the comments, go right ahead. Just be appropriate and be civilized, because I will not have my comments turn into a fucking circus. So if you guys have an opinion about it, you can let me know if you guys bought the game. Me, I bought it. I'm enjoying it. It's kind of refreshing to be able to play these two games once again, because at the time when they were releasing, I didn't get a chance to play them because I was a young child back then, and also when I got older, like I said, and I believe I mentioned before in my videos, my first game was X and Y. That was like at the point where I had my own funds, and I believe, yeah, that was the point where I actually moved here into my apartment when X and Y was coming out. Because it was towards the end of Black and White, and I was kind of on the fence whether or not I wanted to try the main titles, so I decided to bite the bullet and try X and Y, and I had fun, and ever since then I've been playing the games. But and I did back in the day download the old school game, the older games on the 3DS when the 3DS eShop was around. Pretty much that 3DS is basically like a time capsule at this point, because with the eShop gone, unless you mod your 3DS, you basically are SOL'd when it comes to getting those games. They're basically locked in the Nintendo Vault until Nintendo decides to eventually, hopefully, release them on the Switch too. Because, to tell you the truth, I'm actually glad that it's a standalone game. So basically, since it's a standalone game, if sometime in the future NSO ends up shutting down, guess what? You can still play your Fire Leaf and your Fire Red and Leaf Green on your Switch, because that even though it's a digital game, unless something happens to your account itself, that purchase will be permanently on your Nintendo account, and you can play it on your Switch or Switch 2 anytime. And once you've downloaded, you don't even, since it has no online functions, you don't have to worry about having internet. You can just enjoy catching Pokemon and have fun with it. And at the end of the day, that's basically the general premise of the games in the first place, was to just catch Pokemon and have fun. I mean, sure, yeah, it's kind of a bummer that it wasn't modernized, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world. Not every bloody thing has to be modernized. This was just this was just the Pokemon Company straight up said it, that their intention was to release the games as they were back 30 years ago. And 30 years ago, there was no online features in those games. Fire Red and Leaf Green never, as far as I know, never had online features. Heck, to trade, you had to have like a link cable thingamajig. So there was never online features. The only online feature that will be coming, and the Pokemon Company Nintendo confirmed this, is eventual Pokemon home compatibility. So you can easily, if you want to, like, I understand that people want to battle with each other from those old games, but at this point, if you want to do that, there's probably other ways to do it. And heck, it's not the end of the world. I mean, it could have been better, but to tell you the truth, it's not as bad as people are making it. People are blowing the whole situation way out of proportion and just being absolutely ridiculous. It's I'm not defending Nintendo here. Don't get me wrong. Nintendo has made some questionable decisions. I'm just simply stating the facts that $20 for Fire Red and Leaf Green, 40 if you want both, is not too bad. It could have been 1,000 times worse, considering we're dealing with Nintendo and the Pokemon Company. It could have been a whole lot more expensive. And to tell you the truth, if I had a choice whether to pay $20 or hundreds upon thousands of dollars for the actual, cartridge, I'd rather just pay the fucking $20 than hundreds and thousands of dollars on eBay for the actual physical cartridge. I'd rather just pay the $20 and be done with it. Because, sometimes simple is best. And also, if the Pokemon Company would have modernized the games, then people would be complaining that, oh, it's not original. The game is not the original game. They said it's supposed to be original game. Yada yada yada. Then people would be complaining that it's not original because it got modernized. So it's like if Nintendo went one way, if the Pokemon Company went one way, people would be complaining, or the other way, people would still be complaining. So either way you slice it, people will still be complaining no matter what, because you have the haters out there. And I'm talking about the extreme haters that just hate anything that Nintendo does, even if it's just releasing a game for a reasonable price. And $20 is a reasonable price. I don't know where I understand people are miffed because it doesn't have online functionality, but the fact of the matter is, it's $20 fracking dollars. And this is coming from the Pokemon Company. It could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. And believe me, the Pokemon Company and Nintendo are known for charging people through the freaking nose for certain things. $20 for Fire Red and Leaf Green is not bad. Yes, it's not. No, it's not perfect, but it's not completely terrible either. It's not good. It's not terrible. It's not perfect, but it's better than absolutely nothing, and it's better than shilling out thousands of dollars trying to find actual cartridge and praying to God you don't get ripped off. Because yes, that's another possibility when you're dealing with eBay stuff, is you can potentially get ripped off, or somebody can sell you a bootleg, which will not work. This is why I'd rather just take the easy route. Sometimes the best course of action is to just take the easy route. And also, if you don't want to buy the game, nobody is forcing you to buy it. Nobody is forcing you to spend the $20 or the $40 if you don't want to. Nobody is forcing you to do that. I mean, if you don't want to download the game, all the power to you. Then don't download the game. But if you want to download the game, if you want to download Fire Red and Leaf Green and have fun with it, then all the power to you. And the way I see it is, people shouldn't be going after people just because they are enjoying this game, because that's another kind of a disturbing trend that I've been seeing, is people going after other people who've decided to download Fire Red and Leaf Green and pay the $20 or $40 if you want both. And that's the part where it's basically leaning towards the side of blowing things out of proportion. It's like, okay, I understand having valid arguments and having a civilized conversation. That's one thing. But when the conversation devolves into people basically pretty much name calling and attacking one another, that's when things get ridiculous. But at the end of the day, for me personally, it wasn't too bad. It could have been a whole lot worse than what it was. And $20 is reasonable, considering it's you also have to consider modern inflation as well. And I believe back in the day, those games were a lot more than $20. I'm not sure how much Fire Red and Leaf Green cost back in the day, but I'm pretty sure it was much more than $20. Considering how video games cost, like back in the 3DS era, if you want a 3DS game, it would cost you about like $40. So most likely it would be up in the range of like $40, if not even more back then, because I don't know, because I didn't have a chance to purchase it back then, but 20 bucks for $20 for Fire Red and Leaf Green is not, it's not too bad. It's not as bad as people are trying to make it out. And that's my opinion about it. Feel free to agree with it, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to disagree with it. That's what the comment section is for. But as I've stated, be civilized. I will not have my comment section turn into a circus. But anywho, that's my opinion about this situation. Feel free to agree with it and disagree with it. I'm going to conclude the video for now. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in my next video, whenever it is and whatever it is. Have a good day and night, everybody. Bye.